What exactly is wrong with the Emperor of Mankind is, in many ways, the central mystery of the entire modern Warhammer 40,000 setting. Everyone in the Imperium knows that something is catastrophically wrong with him. Every citizen understands he is bound to the Golden Throne, that he is neither truly alive nor truly dead, that he exists in a state of eternal torment to keep humanity from collapsing into darkness. But when you strip away the religious iconography and the centuries of myth, the actual nature of his condition becomes far more complicated and far less clearly defined than most people realise. Physically, the Emperor is a ruin, and that much is certain. At the end of the Horus Heresy, he was grievously wounded in his final duel with Horus aboard the Vengeful Spirit. Those injuries were not ordinary battlefield wounds. They were inflicted by a being infused with the full power of the Chaos Gods, using weapons and energies that transcended simple material damage. Horus did not merely cut the Emperor's body, he tore at the metaphysical essence that held him together. The descriptions we have from the Siege of Terra novels make it clear that the Emperor was clearly broken on multiple levels at once, flesh, mind and soul all shattered in different ways. Normally, a being of the Emperor's power should have been able to heal from almost anything. Throughout the Great Crusade, he was effectively immortal, capable of regenerating from wounds that would annihilate lesser creatures. Vulcan, his immortal son, demonstrates how extraordinary Primarch level generation can be, and the Emperor was far beyond even that. Yet after the duel with Horus, he does not recover. He cannot recover. That fact alone tells us that whatever was done to him went far beyond simple physical trauma. The most straightforward explanation is that the Emperor is suffering from a kind of permanent psychic wound. In the Warhammer universe, the soul and body are not separate things. Damage inflicted on one can cripple the other. Horus was acting as the avatar of Chaos Undivided, struck the Emperor at the deepest possible level. It was not just blades and claws that hurt him, but warp, corruption and metaphysical annihilation. In many ways, it resembles the kinds of injuries suffered by powerful psykers who burn out their minds, except on an incomprehensibly larger scale. And then there is the Golden Throne itself. The device that keeps the Emperor alive is not a life support machine in any conventional sense. It is an arcane ancient construct of unknown origin, partly human, partly Xenos, partly something else entirely. It sustains him, yes, but it also imprisons him. The throne channels his psychic power to maintain the Astronomicon and to hold shut the shattered webway portal beneath the Imperial Palace. Every moment he spends upon it, he is forced to exert unimaginable efforts simply to prevent Terra from being consumed by demons. I sometimes think people underestimate how much the Emperor's condition is caused not just by his wounds, but by what he is being forced to do every second of every day. Imagine trying to heal from catastrophic injuries while simultaneously holding back a tidal wave with your mind for 10,000 years. Even a god would struggle under that kind of strain. The throne is keeping him alive, but it is also slowly killing him, burning away whatever fragments of his original self might have had a chance to recover. And there is also the simple fact that the Golden Throne itself is failing. Over the millennia, its mechanisms have decayed, its systems patched and repaired with increasingly desperate measures. Entire novels such as The Dark City and elements of the Vaults of Terror series revolve around the Imperium's frantic attempts to keep the device functioning. The Emperor is effectively hooked up to a machine that humanity barely understands and can no longer properly maintain. That alone would be enough to explain why his condition never improves. But the physical and mechanical explanations only cover part of the problem. Spiritually and psychologically, the Emperor is arguably in an even worse state. By the end of the heresy, he had endured betrayals beyond comprehension. Half his sons turned against him, his dream for humanity in ruins, and Terra itself nearly destroyed. The psychic shock of killing Horus, a being he had once loved as a child, is described as an almost unbearable act. Some interpretations suggest that in destroying Horus utterly, the Emperor had to sacrifice a portion of his own soul. And that idea leads into one of the more unsettling aspects of his condition, the fragmentation. Several modern books hint that the Emperor may no longer be a single coherent person at all. Characters who interact with him psychically, such as Guilliman in Godblight, describe an entity that feels vast, divided, and barely comprehensible. Instead of one mind, there are suggestions of many aspects, conflicting voices, and shards of identity struggling for dominance. It is possible that the Emperor on the throne is not truly the man who once walked the galaxy, but just a shattered remnant of him. The daily sacrifice of thousands of psychers adds another layer to this. Those souls are fed into the Golden Throne to keep it functioning, their life force burned away to sustain the Emperor's own. Over 10,000 years, that is billions upon billions of minds consumed. What does that do to a being already half broken? Is he being subtly altered by the psychic echoes of all those sacrificed lives? Is his identity being diluted, expanded, or warped by the constant influx of arcane souls? The lore never gives a definitive answer, but it raises deeply uncomfortable questions. And then there is the matter of faith. The Emperor never wanted to be worshipped. He fought against religion his entire life. Yet in the modern era, he is the object of the largest, most fervent cult the galaxy has ever seen. Trillions upon trillions of humans pour their belief, their hope, and their desperation into him every day. In Warhammer 40,000, belief has real power. The Chaos Gods are literal manifestations of emotion and worship. It is entirely possible that the Emperor is a being changed by the devotion of his own species, reshaped into something more akin to a warp god than a man. I often wonder whether that transformation is part of what is wrong with him now. Perhaps the reason he cannot heal is because he is no longer a being that can heal in any normal sense. He might be evolving painfully and unwillingly into something fundamentally different from what he once was. The Golden Throne could be acting as both a life support system and a cage, holding him in a transitional state between mortality and apotheosis. There are also more esoteric theories drawn from the recent Horus Heresy material. The End and the Death novels introduced the concept of the Dark King, a potential fifth Chaos God that the Emperor almost became in his final confrontation with Horus. Although he rejected that path, some fans speculate that echoes of that near transformation still linger within him. If part of the Emperor is still tied to that aborted ascension, it could explain why his existence feels so unstable and contradictory in the current era. Even Guilliman, upon meeting his father again, struggles to understand what he has become. In Godblight, the Primarch describes the Emperor as something vast, cold, and inhuman, a presence that barely resembles the figure he once knew. That encounter suggests that whatever sits upon the throne now is not simply a wounded man waiting to be healed, but a being fundamentally altered by 10,000 years of agony, power, and worship. And all of this leads to a deeply uncomfortable conclusion. There may not be a single simple thing wrong with the Emperor at all. He is suffering from physical annihilation, psychic trauma, spiritual fragmentation, mechanical life support, and the corrosive effects of godhood all at once. Asking what is wrong with him is a bit like asking what is wrong with a star that is collapsing into a black hole. The answer is everything simultaneously. And yet, despite all of that, he persists. Somehow, impossibly, he continues. He guides the Astronomicon, he empowers saints and miracles. He burns away demons with the sheer force of his will. Whatever state he exists in, broken as it is, remains powerful enough to shape the fate of the galaxy. That might be the most terrifying aspect of his condition. If this is the Emperor while ruined, what would he be if he were ever whole again? I sometimes find myself thinking about the sheer stubbornness involved. 10,000 years of unending pain, of holding back the warp, of being fed the souls of his own species, and still he does not fall. That endurance suggests that at least some core of the Emperor remains intact, buried beneath layers of damage and transformation. Whether that core is truly human anymore is anyone's question entirely. In the end, the tragedy of the Emperor is that he exists in a state beyond healing, but not beyond suffering. Too alive to die, too broken to live, too powerful to fade, and too damaged to be restored. The Imperium builds cathedrals around his body and calls him a god, but in many ways, he is the ultimate victim of the universe he tried to save. and perhaps that more than any technical explanation is what is truly wrong with him now. He is a being trapped forever between what he was and what he has been forced to become, with no clear path back to either. If you'd like to support the channel, please like and hype the video in the comment section below, subscribe and check back for daily videos. The best way to help us keep creating videos is to become a channel member down below, where you'll get access to new videos early. This archive has now been fully decoded. Continue your journey with the video displayed on screen. The vast wealth of the archives continues to reveal new knowledge of the dark history of the 40k verse. In the grim dark of the far future, there is only war.